This is Pod Strangely Warmed, a place where we tell the good Methodist story, where we have conversations that invite followers of Jesus to seek after that loving, just, and free world that God imagines for us all, and have a little fun along the way. Hey, and welcome back to Pod Strangely Warm. We're here, but where are we here? We are in Plano at the secondary studio here of Pod Strangely Warmed, and we are in Plano for the very first time. All of our North Texas friends who have come on the podcast as we become the Horizon Texas Conference are jealous of y'all today because Dustin moved the studio just for you, which just means you're more amazing than anybody else we've had on before, so feel good about that, right?
Well, thank you.
Today, we are having an amazing conversation. One of the strategic priorities of our annual conference is to champion children and youth. And one of the ways that we do that is by both providing leadership to ministry to students, but also having ministry that is led by our students. And one of the places where that happens the most is at our camping locations, Bridgeport, Glen Lake, and others. And so today we're here to talk about Bridgeport, its formative experiences for us. And as somebody who's never been to Bridgeport, I'm not here to talk. I'm here to listen. And so I'm really excited to be here with y'all today. And so to help us in this conversation, we are joined by CJ, Hailey, and Leo. Thank you all for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Y'all did a remarkable bit of unison in that one moment. So
we planned that.
You did. If you did, you must have rehearsed it a number of times because that was just pitch perfect. Leo, why don't you get us started? Help us, give us a little introduction into who you are, where your church home is, and maybe like what your connection to camp has been over the course of your time.
Sure thing. So, hi, I'm Leo. I go to First United Methodist Church, Richardson. How I got involved with the camp was kind of wonky, but with Bridgeport, I went in 5th grade for the first time. And then once COVID hit, I was one out of like 20 or 25 kids that did it virtually. So I went to every single day for multiple hours at a time. We did Bridgeport online. And then the year after, they said, hey, you stuck with it? You want to be a counselor? And I said, sure thing, let's try it. So I was a counselor my 7th grade year, and then I've been helping off and on. This past year is the first year I actually haven't been to Bridgeport.
Oh, wow.
In a while, because I had another camp that I was helping out with in Louisiana. But I love Bridgeport. This year's going to be my first Midwinter. I'm pretty excited about it.
Very good.
Yes.
It's going very good. Leo, thank you. Thanks for being here, and thanks for sticking with it through COVID. Virtual camp was not easy. As somebody who led virtual vacation Bible school and lots of other virtual things, it took some determination to do that. And you've brought some amazing things from your first trip to Bridgeport that we're going to get to here in a little bit.
Yes, sir.
If you're at home, see if you can find it on the shelf and spot what it is. Hailey, share with us a little bit about who you are and your connection to Bridgeport.
My name's Hailey. I go to Ridgewood Park, UMC. I think I went to Bridgeport, I want to say for the first time in 3rd grade, which is when you can start going. I went, I think, every summer up until like 7th or 8th grade. And then I went for the first time for summer again this past summer because I was leading as a counselor this time for a children's camp. I've always just felt a connection to Bridgeport because it's such a great way to both experience like the Lord for yourself and help others experience it, especially when you're leading in that way.
Very cool. There's something powerful about when we get out of our normal rhythm, right, and get to places like Glen Lake Camp, like Bridgeport, these holy spaces that are like thin, where the veil between God and us is super thin, and we can not only have those experiences ourselves, but shepherd others in the midst of that. CJ, as we were getting ready today, Hailey and Leo were giving you some props and also a little trouble, right? Apparently, one of your great gifts at Bridgeport is making people cry. Can you tell us a little bit about this and maybe your history at Bridgeport?
Sure.
And
Yeah. So I'm CJ, the one that makes you cry. I am the youth minister at First Methodist in McKinney. I've been there for 3 years now, and I've been a youth minister for the last 12 years or so.
Awesome.
And it is just the greatest joy of my life, and I get to work with young people like these two here. And when I first started working up in the North Texas Conference, that was my real first experience with camp. I went to Glen Lake when I was really young. I don't have very vivid memories of it when I was in 3rd or 4th grade. Bridgeport was new to me. And I was a person who was like, camp doesn't matter as much as mission trip does because we are servants and that's what we do. And I went to Bridgeport for the very first time as a youth minister with my kids from Farmersville. And it was one of the holiest weeks that I have ever had, right? And to get to see young people change and be transformed at the cross on the hill as we look over at the lake and God's creation around us, it was just really transformative. And I have been a camper ever since, die-hard camper. I will do anything and everything for Bridgeport and for camping ministries in general and what that has to offer. And then through the years, especially these last 5 years or so, I've been really involved with the youth leadership and how that has evolved itself into leadership at camp. And I'm very passionate about that as well. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. CJ, you were telling us about this visual of sitting at the foot of the cross with creation surrounding you. And Leo, I think you might have actually brought something that helps us experience that visual ourselves, right?
It sure does. Yeah.
What's on the shelf that is yours today, Leo?
Right there next to the eye drops is a postcard. That postcard they were selling for 25 cents. I did buy it, I want to say, for if you've been.
I was about to say there was some controversy earlier about whether you stole it from the napkin container or not.
You know.
If you've been there, you know he did.
No, so they're selling for 25 cents, and my dad collects postcards. We collect old postcards, and so I was like, oh, let me bring it from this camp so I could see this photo. If you could actually hand it to me, CJ, can I?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So the people who are watching, this is the Bridgeport. This is the cross, and every single night there is a sunset that looks like this. Every single night, and there's never a dull night. There's never anything. And at the end of every night, we have a worship at the cross. And I remember my first ever worship at the cross. And I remember crying because we were Catholic for the first few years of my life, and I always remember being kind of scared, but not But I remember the community and just knowing that I was welcomed here, and so I brought a postcard and I still have it and I actually hang it on my wall. That's why there's a little residue, but I have them all and so yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for bringing that because I think that does help us for those of us who, in the uniting of the conferences, we've got different camping experiences that have shaped and formed us, right? At Glen Lake, we have the hike to the cross, but it's a different cross. It's a stone cross that sits at the top of this gorge that but worship happens somewhere else because it's a whole lot more work to hike there than you want to get to.
Although we do have a hill, have a hill.
It is quite a hike.
Okay,
it's different, but it's rough on the calves. Yeah. For sure.
Fair enough. Hailey, what did you bring that is gracing the shelves?
So I actually brought two things. You want to hand me the cross first?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I made this, I want to say my first or second year at camp when I was really little. We have a arts and crafts thing as one of the
interest
groups. Forgetting the word. And I always picked arts and crafts for one of them. And I think we did this at one of them. And it's always been really special to me. It sits on my desk. And so I look at it pretty much every day. And yeah.
Very cool. Nice. I'm impressed that you still have it. It must mean something really important to you.
I'm a pretty sentimental person. So I also have I brought my booklet from Midwinter this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. Same thing. 2024. I have a scrapbook that I keep a lot of that kind of stuff in. So I was planning on putting it, but that hasn't happened yet. So
well, hey, I'm glad you didn't have to rip it out and get all the.
Yeah, I have two because we do a planning meeting where we go over a lot of the Midwinter stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna put that one in there. So this one's my nice one.
Okay.
So you get it to grace your shelves.
Well, and we'll give it right back as soon as we're done taping. Don't worry. CJ, what have you brought to remember and celebrate as the bringer of tears?
Yes.
What have you brought for us today?
As the bringer of tears, which is actually false, not correct. I don't like crying, but my eyes are extremely dry. Doctors cannot figure it out. And so if you know me and you've ever seen me anywhere, I carry eye drops with me everywhere. So there's my eye drops. And I forgot to bring something. That's really the truth. We're just being transparent. And if this is a safe space for us, I just forgot.
Okay.
So
and claim Leo's Bible and talk about that importance and place of Scripture in your life. And
yes, absolutely.
Very good. Leo, you actually this is your first Bible, right?
So I was given a children's Bible. So in our church, when you go to third grade, you get a third grade Bible.
Right.
I did not attend the Methodist church when I was in third grade. I joined when I was in around fourth and fifth grade. Going into sophomore year, I was given that Bible by some of y'all might know her. Her name is Cheryl Bishop. I call her Mama B because she is 100% my church mom. And she heard that I was going to this camp. I was going to a state that I'd never been to a camp I'd never been to a camp where I knew nobody. It's called Christian Community Experience. Shout out. It's a really small camp. We only have about 30 campers. And she found out from somebody that I did not have a Bible. And so she came to me. I was running around the church, and she stopped, and she gave it to me, and she prayed over it. And apparently, Pastor Clayton had signed it, and they, it means a lot to me. And that's like, and she gave me a pack of pencils and special Bible pens, so I can start writing. I can start highlighting. I've done good. It feels a little weird to write on it, but every once in a while I'll highlight a scripture, especially and now we have the app, so I can do it.
Right.
But that Bible is very important to me. Yes.
Very good. I think that speaks to some of the best part of our connection, right? And being in community with and for each other. That's what it means when we champion the faith life of young people and give y'all space to invest in that next generation. We've talked about summer camp. You also mentioned Midwinter a couple of times. For folks who haven't been to Midwinter before, what is it? Other than this vague description of a time that lives in the middle of wintertime.
Yes.
What is Midwinter? Hailey, you want to begin?
Yeah,
Just give us an overview?
So Midwinter is a camp for people our age. I think I want to say 6th through 12th, I think. Yeah. I'm proud of myself for knowing that. It's 6th through 12th, and it's a camp with curriculum made specifically for people our age. I think that's part of the reason that Bridgeport is so special to us, is it's a place where teens and people around our age can find curriculum and worship and things like that really connect with them, because it's made by people their age for people their age.
Yeah.
So it's always been very special to me, especially in the work and the worship and like small group stuff. We call them family groups. But yeah.
Very good. CJ, what as you lead student ministry groups, right, and have potentially those incoming middle school parents for the first time, right? When they ask you, what is Midwinter and why does my kid need to go, what do you say to them?
Yeah. I basically just say it is camp over a weekend, right? There is so many of the great aspects, right, that we have of summer camp, and many of our kids know from being in children's camp, that we get to, play games together, we get to worship together, we're eating together, we are in small groups together, right? And it's all condensed in this like kind of 36-hour speed camp time, right, in the middle of the winter. And it might be cold and it might be hot. We're in Texas. You just never know what we're gonna get.
Pack on Thursday, leave on Friday.
Exactly.
The main plan.
And so it's a quick turnaround, but really meaningful nonetheless. But like people who understand camp, I'm like, you got to be there to make sure. And the special part about Midwinter that is different than summer camp for us, and this might be true in Central Texas, but this is my experience and knowledge, is that our youth from beginning to end have completely led it. Right. So we've got our conference youth leadership program, which used to be Conference Council on Youth Ministry. It's all the same thing, right? But has an intentionality of a leadership specifically with camping ministries, that they, from the very beginning, decide what the theme is, decide what scriptures we're going to use. They don't necessarily write the curriculum, but they've given us the ideas of what would speak to 6th through 12th graders, and then they lead all of Midwinter. Adults are there. We hold them up when they need it and support them, but they're leading it 100%. Nice. And that's the best part about it, right? Is to get to see them be in leadership. For 6th graders to get to see older youth be in leadership as well, that they could be that someday, right? Yeah.
So powerful experience and expression. A couple of years ago, the coordination within Central Texas changed, and now Glen Lake does the curriculum for Midwinter. But our historic process was that way, and it was really amazing in the years where I was on the district student leadership team to see our young people claim that authority and claim the voice that you have to say, these are the things we're actually wrestling with. Not the things that y'all think we are, right? But here's where we're inviting God to meet us, and we'd love to have our faith speak into our life in a meaningful way. CJ, you shared a little bit earlier, kind of a moment of, when you took your first round of kids to Bridgeport for the first time. Hailey and Leo, I'd be curious if y'all have like a moment from your experience at Bridgeport, whether it happened in the summertime or at Midwinter, that just captured you, that really sticks out in your memory, whether it was fun or holy or goofy or something in between.
You can go first.
If you ever been, so I've only been to the summer camp. I've never been to Midwinter. I've helped plan Midwinter, but I've never actually been to Midwinter. Vivid memory from when I was in children's camp in middle school is when you pack this big bag of stuff, right? And you go through our mess hall, right, to sign up, and you give the meds, first day, first hour, and then your parents just kind of say, peace out, we'll see you in a week. And my mom's a very emotional person, and she loves me very much. Yeah. And it was really hard to let her little baby go, Yeah. And I remember a camp counselor coming and literally sitting down a box of candy. It was a shoebox, and now I do this as a counselor. It was a shoebox full of candy. I mean, size 15 box. Like it was we're talking
nice.
Lots.
Yeah.
And he says, pick a handful. That's today's rations. And I just remember that bit so vividly. And then there's all these little fifth graders running around with a handful of candy. And awesome. It's just it's just a very vivid memory in mine.
The love of Jesus Christ, one cavity at a time.
Exactly.
Amen. Amen.
Exactly.
Right. Very good. Hailey, what about you? What a moment that jumps out in your memory?
So mine's a little more intense than that, just warning.
Hey, fair enough.
So when I was growing up, my sister was diagnosed with leukemia, and she was diagnosed with that actually coming home from a week at Bridgeport.
Oh, wow.
She left early with a fever, and then then she got diagnosed with leukemia about, I would say, a couple weeks later. And so coming back to Bridgeport for me was a little bit scary, kind of, because it's, that's an experience that's kind of defined a lot of my life. And so coming to Bridgeport for the first time, I was a little bit worried. The nice thing is, since my mom had experience with all the doctor and medical tools with having to give my sister insulin and stuff like that, she was the nurse there. So I had my mom with me the whole time. And so I had got a bit of anxiety there just because it was such a intense space. And it was also kind of scary to me to connect with my faith in such a strong way. But it was a very good experience, and obviously I had a good time because I've come back pretty much every summer that I can. And it's always just been a big part of my life, and I feel super connected to my faith and some of the people I've lost too there.
Thank you so much for trusting us with that and sharing that because I think what you've named is at its best, right? Camp can be a place that becomes a foundation place, right? One of those stable places as we go through life, whether it's in our childhood season when we move from being the kid getting the candy to the kid giving the candy, and if you need some size 15 shoes, let me know, or shoe boxes, let me know. I'll just keep feeding them to you, and you really get a good handful for those kids there. Or those moments where you're returning in a place that is so deeply attached to a moment that shapes and forms you. Camp is one of those places. I know, my mom was the executive director at Glen Lake for a couple of years, and we lost her last year. And so just this, the first time we took our kids back, right? There was I watched Abby, who was our 2-year-old. Now she's 13 in 8th grade and, giving me all the sass that y'all were giving CJ just a little bit earlier. Right? But when mom ran the camp, she was 2 and, just had those moments and the memories, those connective tissues that kind of make us who we are. Not only do they literally speak into the moments of our lives, but it's that constant, consistent place that's kind of a foundational marker point for us. And they even convert the mission trip only people to the importance of...
And a stubborn one at that, too, right? I'm a stubborn mission trip only girl, but...
No, it's just a both and.
It is.
It's both and. And, I don't know if you would push back against this or not, but kind of sitting in the senior pastor seat, I deeply believe that a lot of our weekly ministry is really important with our kids and students. But there's a level at which mission trip, camp, midwinter, those holy disruptions are the places where faith gets formed. Absolutely. And it's maintained in the in-between. Does that make sense?
100%,
absolutely.
Because we get out of our standard rhythms, we get open to where God is going to do something. And it will often surprise us and shock us.
I will tell my youth parents all the time, if I understand that our summers are busy, and I understand that your kids are busy and we've got lots of stuff going on, our calendars get packed. But if you do not take time to prioritize,
Yeah.
right, getting your kid on mission trip, getting your kid to camp, getting on those retreats, right? Like, sure, you can come every Sunday night, and that's great. And I'm glad you're here, and I want you to be here. But if you're not coming on those things, you're missing out on a really like specific, important, connectional piece, like doing this with other people, right?
Yeah.
That we are growing and serving and learning and worshiping together, right, as one, with like all these people who are our age and who are going through the same things, similar things as us. It's just so meaningful. So like, I agree. I'll push back on you when I need to, but I agree with you today.
All right. Well, we believe in it enough to where we have done the fundraisers within the church to make sure
Right.
any kid that wants to go to camp or on mission trip can go. And because we're an economically diverse church, and we've got some parents who can write the check and not think twice about it, and we got some parents that would have to plan for 6 months to afford the week at camp or mission trip, and we just want to make sure that every kid that wants to go can go because of the faith formation and the relationships that get formed. Now at Glen Lake, there's this thing called Yellow Meal. You may remember Yellow Meal. You may not remember Yellow Meal. Yellow Meal is when you first arrive at camp. So if you come to Midwinter at Glen Lake at some point or to summer camp, the first meal you're going to eat in the dining hall is chicken nuggets or strips, French fries, corn, and a roll. And if you want to take it next level, you get the banana pudding and the yellow Gatorade. Ooh. Right. It's all that Benny Keith kind of not great food, but all of the same color palette kind of thing. And so like it's the thing that they've made T-shirts out of that kind of celebrate the oddity of the experience, but that kind of uniquely Glen Lake thing, right? In addition to all the amazing faith formative stuff. When you think about Bridgeport, we've seen the postcard that Leo stole from the napkin holder. What are some? He didn't steal it. Full disclosure, Clayton, you don't have to have confession moment with Leo or anything like that. Well, anyway, TBD. But what is singular or plural? One of those foundational Bridgeport moments, experiences, things that if somebody hadn't gone, that not only do they have to make sure they go, but they're going to get that experience.
I mean, you said food, and so I mean, Bridgeport, we have some pretty awesome food.
Oh, nice!
Shout out to Caleb Burke. We love that guy.
Amazing.
Love him. So, have you ever had Oreo churro before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever had what do we call them? Tostito?
Crispitos.
Crispitos. Those are my
my
personal
God.
favorite. I will down 10
Yes.
of
So
those.
unpack a Crispito for me.
Alrighty. So you get a really crispy tortilla, huge,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
You put chicken, cheese, and the special sauce. I don't know what that special. I don't know if there's a special
So like
sauce.
a quesadilla.
It is like
on
it's like a
steroids?
taquito.
Yeah. It's a
Oh, okay.
But it's
huge.
like it's
But it's-
bigger
yeah.
than a taquito, but it's got the same kind of vibe, like is
Okay.
in like the crunchiness of
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like a
And-
deep fried situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then usually
Perfect.
covered in queso.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
what I mean, that creamy
so
special
good.
sauce.
It's
Okay.
everybody loves
Okay.
Crispitos.
Yeah.
And
They
by
come with-
everybody, I mean the kids really like them. Adults really hate them because as you get older, food hits you differently.
Certainly.
And so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just a different experience. But the kids love them, and there were T-shirts over COVID made for the Crispitos because
Okay.
they're so beloved.
Yeah.
So yeah, Crispitos are one. The Oreo churros.
Oh, I never
so
seen that before when I was little.
Good.
And so
and they're like hot when they come out.
yeah.
Oh my god, they're so good. They're so good.
Really? Now we're talking about food. I'm on the path with food.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do
Hey,
it.
as we should.
It's my pleasure.
Before every meal, we have a prayer. Now, traditionally, that's close your hands or
Right.
connect your hands together. Well, here at Bridgeport, we like to change it up a little bit.
Oh,
so we do a
nice.
Superman prayer. It's like, thank you God for giving us food. Thank you God for giving us friends. Thank you for food. Friends of me. Thank you God. And now we can and then everybody banging.
Yeah.
Hearing like 200 kids bang on tables. That's
fun. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
raveling.
Yeah.
So we do have a bunch of ones. We have an Adam and Eve one, and we have a
Adam's Family.
Adam's Family, not Adam and Eve. And
Close enough.
close enough. And so I think that. I mean,
Okay. Yeah,
just
yeah.
the food in general. Yeah.
Nice. The dining hall experience is pretty high up
And
there.
then sunset.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh,
But it's
yeah.
I think
There's so
it,
many
like nothing
things.
beats the sunset, right?
Yeah.
Like we can joke about Crispitas. I mean, it's not a joke. We love Crispitas.
They're amazing.
We can talk about Crispitas, but it's the cross. Like that's what people know.
Yeah.
Like Bridgeport facilities are old. Like you know, I mean, just like with every camp,
Sure.
I mean, everywhere.
Yeah.
Like we just don't have the same kind of money as we once upon a time
Right.
did. So yeah, the cabins are your unique experience. Like
In a good
having
way,
to
in a good
stay
way.
at Hilltop Cabin is
Oh,
an
yeah.
experience
Oh,
in and of
Lord.
itself, right? Like they're the oldest cabins at Bridgeport,
Okay.
and they are still standing. It's shocking to me. And so if you haven't ever stayed there, you haven't experienced Bridgeport in its full grandeur, if you will. And Nine Square has really made its appearance over
Oh,
the last
yes.
like 6 or so years. That
It's
if
a big
you're, that's
Yeah,
another
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
it must be there.
Okay.
Or getting stickers in your feet from the
playing
volleyball
volleyball.
court.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
The sand
it's
burr,
unique.
not just the grass burr.
Oh, they're
the-
terrible.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the ball has it all, so when you go to like
Oh
hit
my
it, and then
gosh,
you just get it
yes.
jammed in your hand.
so
Had
bad.
so many in my hand. We played Nine Square this summer at children's camp, and we had to like make it to where JCs mainly would go get the volleyball because I think a kid got a sticker in their hand. We're like, well, we don't want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to deal with that.
It's a unique place.
There's so
I
many
have a lot
like
of traumatic
traditions we
Nine
have.
Square stories.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing is like the whipped cream battle. We have a shaving cream battle at the end for the
Oh,
kids.
the shaving cream war. I totally forgot about
Yeah,
that.
that's. I remember. It was so awesome to be a counselor and actually, so we all stand in a circle, like back to back, right?
Oh,
Table in
yes.
the middle of hundreds of cans of
Okay.
shaving cream.
Okay.
The kids basically charge us at full speed. We have to and then they just attack each other, and they also can attack us counselors as well.
Nice. So you give them a handful?
And
Yeah.
like
Like, they
we
come
can't charge back
Okay.
until
Their
we've
hands.
given out all the
Yeah,
shaving
we
cream.
can't-
So we're like spraying as fast as we can.
And it's also the day that like it's the last day, so everything's happening, and it's just it's amazing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is this before or after Thursday Tiers? You mentioned Thursday Tiers.
Sometimes
where
that's
all-
when the tears start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like
They start
their
with
eyes.
pain, and then
start
they
with
become
pain. It
with
becomes
like,
You get shaving
it becomes
cream
a
in your
holy.
eyes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So is that the theme today? Is just tears? with
Hey, it's
CJ?
an unfortunate truth that has happened.
CJ's here.
Oh, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good. But all jokes aside,
Yeah.
there are not just tears of shaving cream and eyeballs, but as a part of the worship time, right? Over the course of the week, there come to those moments where the Spirit feels near, right? And God moves, and there is kind of an emotive response in the midst of that, right? That is formative in our faith formation. So that's where the jokes began, and then
yeah.
they just stacked because they
As
do.
they do.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We are about 26 minutes in at this point. I know. It's a quick 30 minutes. It's
Yeah.
not painful, we hope, unlike getting the volleyball at Bridgeport.
Exactly.
We know Midwinter is coming very soon, right? You're here in part to give us a window into what the theme is and what the dates are. Do we have what those dates are and what the theme is for this year for the folks who are listening to this, who are good Methodist dorks, clergy and laity alike, who might want to make sure their students are at Midwinter this year?
All right, so we've got Midwinter 2025. Cannot believe it's happening. The first session is January 24th through the 26th. That's a Friday night through Sunday. And then the second session is February 7th through the 9th. So, and then Hailey, what is our theme? Tell us
Okay,
about it.
so this year our theme is building the bridge, and it's kind of about like building bridges between you and Christ, building towards that faith and making connections with your faith with people to like help you build that bridge, and just like figuring out not only like how you can surround yourself and how you can help yourself grow to that faith, but also how God helps you get to that faith and how others help you get to that.
Very good. That's a great bridge to be building in the midst of this season. And so Dustin's going to put a link in the screen, kind of scroll right here now.
Right down here.
There you go. As well as in like the show notes for this episode to make sure that everybody can get connected and signed up for that. Back at the start of school this year, we had a group of student leaders from the Central Texas Legacy side of Dallas-Fort Worth on the podcast. And kind of the closing thing we asked them was, what is one misconception that, I've turned 40 over the last 2 months. And so I'm now an old person. I fit that one.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited about that. But what is one misconception that we old people often have about our students or about student ministry that you just want to set the record straight or make sure we hear today?
You want to go first?
I'm sorry. I gotta give it a think. I gotta think about it.
Can I say mine real quick and then I'll go to y'all's?
Yeah.
Okay. So mine is that, like, because you're asking about, like, what is a misconception about student ministry in general, is that, like, that the youth have to, like, do something in order to, like, earn your, like, funds, your fundraising for their things. Like, because there's so much work and beauty that is happening in the midst. And if anybody would just come and see what we're doing, they would see the transformation that is happening. And so the youth are doing the work, right? They are already existing. They don't have to come rake your leaves, right? And they might want to, and that's fine. But it doesn't have to be that in order for that to exist. That would be mine. I don't know. They're just worth it. Like, they're worth investing in time, money, energy, all of it. So.
Amen.
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of that. I think sometimes a misconception is that we like can't connect as deeply in our faith as people older than us can.
Yeah.
And I truly think that sometimes teenagers connect like even deeper occasionally because like there's so many, especially at camp, like I feel like it's just like me and Christ like walking that walk together.
Yeah.
And that's always a fantastic experience. This is like, I know it's not truly mine, but it kind of feels like it is because there's a cross at Hilltop that not many people know about it, but not many people really like go there. We don't use it for worship or like really use it very much, but it's there. And a lot of times when I'm just like, you know, right before, if I'm staying in Hilltop, right before we go into the cabin, I just kind of, I'll sit there for a minute or on the last day of camp, kind of take a minute, just sit with the cross, and it feels like it's kind of my own space. And like that's a lot of the time when I really connect with my faith, sorry.
Also your face.
With my faith and with the Lord is when I'm just having that time there. And I feel like we really can connect in that deep way.
Amen.
That we don't know as much as we do. So I would say I'm very involved with the conference. I try to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to read the workbook from front page.
The pre-conference journal. Nice.
Yeah.
Nerd alert.
Right. Hey.
Yeah, I cannot say the same.
I did order the new book of discipline, you know, and so I feel like a lot of the time in that, like not just the conference, but like in faith in general, they don't like. A lot of people are thinking, oh well, they don't want to put as much effort into their faith. When in reality, we're having really hard struggles with our life, you know, as much as every adult does and every person in their life does at some point or another. And so for me, I guide my problems in life through my faith. And sometimes that might mean just sitting down and looking through the Bible. And, you know, even though I know for some kids, they might not have a pen and paper and Bible, they might have their app, and that's what they do. And they can search, well, I'm feeling depressed, right? And so they can use their app, put depression in, and then we'll give them a bunch of things that might help, like a bunch of verses that might help them, make them feel connected to their faith in some form, or at least somebody's hearing them, even if it's a book that was written thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that we know more than we might seem sometimes.
Amen.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it's just knowing that some kids, you know, don't put as much into their faith, but a lot do.
Amen.
And a majority do.
Well, and what you describe as a human thing.
Yeah.
Some humans don't put as much into their faith as others. And so, Leo, thank you so much. Haley, thank you so much. And CJ, thank you for being here. Nobody cried, so life is good.
Good job.
And thank you for being with us today on Pod Strangely Warm. Until next time, I'm Daniel Hawkins. This has been Pod Strangely Warm. If you enjoyed our conversation today, know that you can find us anywhere you find podcasts. On Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, any and all the places, we are there. So if you want to continue the good United Methodist conversation that you've been a part of today, find us, like us, rate us, review us, and share with a friend so that the good news that is happening right here in our own midst can amplify even more.
She said,
Bye-bye.
bye.
The top one or okay.
One.
We should all cry.
No.
This is so bad. I want to re-record the podcast.
I don't think we're invited back.
You didn't like the wow? You weren't a fan of the wow?
It was great.
Cool.
Right.
Make sure to subscribe and like and smash that like button.